Hey, it's Michael, and this is the Kintsugi Podcast. I'll be back in a minute with today's conversation about resilience. But first, if you're interested in creating a better life, having a better career, please visit KintsugiPodcast.com and grab your free workbook on how to have a better life. In it, you'll discover tips and routines so you can find the energy for the things and the people who matter most, so you can create a better tomorrow and create the life and career you desire. Hey there, it's Michael, and welcome to another episode of the Kintsugi Podcast, another conversation about resilience. So do you want to have dinner with me? Before you answer that, let me give you some background. I'm recording this on the Saturday after the US presidential election. A lot of emotion from this past week. Right now, many cities have a whole bunch of joy, but that wasn't the case earlier this week. So we're going to talk about this past week. Also, how do we move forward from this moment? So for those in the US, last week was one for the books. And it was probably fitting, given how bananas 2020 has been. It certainly tested our ability to wait, to worry, live in the present, and, as I like to say, breathe. Pause, breathe, and reflect. In the early part of the week, the mid part of the week, after the election or leading up to it, a lot of anxiety. And as I just mentioned, a whole bunch of joy. It's incredible as I record this. A whole bunch of emotion. So good to see because we haven't been able to come together with the emotion of joy really since March. So it's so good to see. I'm getting choked up seeing the coverage, to be honest. But last week was a hard week for me. And let me explain why. I had a whole bunch of different emotions. And I understood 2016. With my travel across the US, I understand how 2016 happened, but I thought it was just a blip on the radar screen. That there was a lot of people voting against Hillary and not for Donald. I thought it was just a one moment in time type of thing. And I thought over the last 4 years, what the last 4 years was all about, much like my last bad day accident and COVID in 2020, they were all events that were happening for us or through us, not to us. They happened to give us a moment to pause, to reflect, reset, and have a rebirth, if you will, to create a better tomorrow. That's what I thought these last 4 years were all about. I really thought we were tired of pointing the fingers at each other or giving each other the middle finger. I thought we were tired of seeing each other as adversaries. That's what I really thought. Or maybe that's what I hoped. And I certainly thought a greater percentage of folks would vote. We had more people vote this election than ever before, so that's progress, but I thought certainly more people would vote. And I thought a greater percentage of folks would vote because they were so sick and tired of being sick and tired from all the drama and the chaos. So they would cast a vote against chaos and for more calm, for more decency. That's what I thought. But this past week showed all of us, and this is the hard part about awareness, that despite all that's happened over the last 4 years, and in particular, what's happened this year, we are still a 49 to 49 type of nation. So a reasonable question is this: where do we go from here? Now that the election is over, where do we go? Well, we always have a choice. We have a choice in terms of how we show up for each other, how we tune in for each other. We don't have to clench our fists when we approach each other, as we've been doing over the last several years. Instead, we can reach out. We can be the hand that lifts people up. It doesn't have to be a handout, but it can certainly be that hand that when someone trips and stumbles, as we do in life, we got to get back up again. And we can't get back up by ourselves. We need someone. So we can reach out and be that hand that lifts people up. Or, as President Lincoln said, and historian John Meacham often references this, we can listen to our better angels. We can appreciate the common experience that we all have living in this country and focus in on our similarities rather than our differences, rather than retreat back to our primal reptilian brain instincts of protecting our own grabbing ours, and really not giving a damn about anyone else who happens to be different than who we are. So once we know that we have a choice, then what do we do? Well, I'll share this quote from Van Gogh. I discovered it when we went to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, which I highly recommend going. And it goes like this: we are all painters in real life. And the important thing is to breathe as hard as we can. Breathe. And if you listen to the Kintsugi podcast with my pause, breathe, and reflect, you know why I love this quote. I think we need to breathe right now. And although we may not be artists like Van Gogh, we can all practice the art of conversation, because nothing happens without conversation. Nothing. In business, in life, in relationships, nothing happens without conversation. And the stronger we are with conversation, the stronger our relationships are, the stronger we make our Peloton, the stronger we make our community. But like art, some of our conversations, well, they're not so pretty. But still, we must persist because we are ultimately artists. And we try to continue to make more art today, tomorrow, the next day by day, drip by drip, conversation by conversation. We get better at our art. We get better at conversation. That's how we get better at these things, by doing them. There's no magic pill. There's no hack. There's no tip. We just got to have the conversation. Here's the thing. Regardless of who occupies the White House or the halls of Congress, or if you're listening to us outside the US, your government buildings and the higher offices of your country, none of that should matter in terms of how we show up for each other, how we tune in. So I'm doing something new. It's going to start on Wednesday, November 11th at 7:11 p.m. My accident was at 7:11 a.m. on July 11th. And it was also the second Wednesday of the month. That's why we're going to have these new pause, breathe, and reflect dinners to help us have a better conversation. And I know many people are saying, hey, we're sick of Zoom. We have Zoom fatigue. But I really do believe that we're tired of Zoom. We have Zoom fatigue because we've been asked to attend too many crummy Zooms. So think of this as just a chance to breathe together, to connect, to share energy, to discover, to be curious, to talk about things like resilience and gratitude and Kintsugi and getting back up again together. It's about all that. Just like any dinner party. There are no slides. There's no selling. Just an opportunity to come together, to break bread, to breathe. And I hope you think this sounds pretty cool. And here's the other cool thing about it. It doesn't matter who you love, your gender, whom you pray to, whom you voted for, or if you voted, or really how much money you make. None of that matters. The only thing I ask is that you come with an open heart, with some curiosity, and a willingness to be an artist, to have a more beautiful conversation so we can build connection. Because I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily want to live in a 49 versus 49 type of world. I want to figure out how we can have a little bit of that Venn diagram, a little bit of overlap, a little bit of that compromise, so we can see each other and hear each other and connect with each other and make things happen for all of us. So how about it? You want to have dinner with me? November 11th at 7:11 p.m. It's a chance to break bread together, chance to connect, chance to breathe together. Just pause to figure out how we're going to get through what we need to get through. And I do believe this, the best way through is together. So thank you, as always, for listening to the Kintsugi Podcast. If you have a question for me, head to kintsugipodcast.com, leave your question there. You can ask for the link to sign up for our Pause, Breathe, and Reflect dinners. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But if you have a question about almost anything, go there. I'll do my best to answer it as quickly as possible. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing and sharing a rating or a comment on iTunes or wherever you happen to grab your podcast. And until our dinner, or until next week, remember to pause, breathe, and reflect. And of course, have fun storming the castle. We'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.